Hello and welcome, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you the top 10 best Ark Tames if you're a noob, so let's get straight into it. In at number 10 we've got the Megalodon, and I want to put this creature here as a basic underwater tame. This is really going to get you far. The Ichthyosaurus and the Basilow are good shouts as well, but if you want to go for a creature which is going to deal some damage and still be relatively easy to tame, they do spawn quite close to the shore, the Megalodon is your bet. If you just want speed, the Ichthyosaurus is the way to go, and if you want something a little bit more robust, then the Basilow is going to be the way to go, but those tames are a little bit more difficult and it is something to watch out for, whereas the Megalodon can be very simply done with a crossbow and 2 trank arrows and then just some fish meat. If you find one that's near the shore, that is your opportunity to get one, trank it out and tame it for yourself, and you will not regret having one of these for just general basic ocean travel, as they have the bleed ability. They can deal quite a large amount of damage and they really can get a lot done considering how easy these things are to tame. Although this is somewhat of a challenge to tame, if you prepare this successfully, you won't struggle with it too much. If you build a very basic 2x2 trap, get some ramps and obviously door frames around it, then you can tame one of these things with relative ease. You just need a little bit of basic preparation and you want to be level 69.
Nice.
That may seem like a little bit of a stretch, but you can still be a noob to the game and be of a somewhat high level, and you don't even need the saddle to get some use out of this creature. You can just use it as a bodyguard until you get the saddle and just level it up the whole time, and you're going to have a good time with a creature like this. So once you have the saddle, you have much improved berry and fiber gathering with some insane damage on top of that too, which you really can't deny is going to be something very useful, especially if you're new to the game. Again, even if you don't have that saddle, you can still use it to attack creatures around you and you'll get a lot of benefit and protection from that. The saddle is going to be a very important part of all of the gathering aspects of this creature, but all of the protection, you can do that without a saddle. And they're also a great boss creature as well, especially for the dragon, but you're probably not quite thinking about that yet. The Beals next, as I find this is a really effective just general travelling mount around the map, and its cement paste gathering is insane. And if you ever get caught up on gathering cement paste as a resource, either go to beaver dams or tame yourself one of these things and kill loads of insects. You're going to get tons of it and you're never going to need to really go out and get any more until you do actually in fact run out. But you can probably tell they are very fast, and considering the taming process isn't too difficult, apart from the biome, you're not going to have a lot of side effects to actually tame this thing. You're just going to be getting a good small travel mount that can also do very well underwater, and it's an insane resource gather for cementing paste. Considering all of that, when you put it together, this really is a creature which I think you should be getting, because even if you don't use it for that cementing paste gathering ability, which is a little bit of a shame to be honest, you still have a creature which deals reasonable damage. Actually, people don't give the Beals enough respect for the damage. It can also swim very fast, especially considering its size. It makes it so effective for if you're early to the game, because you're not going to need a lot of space to facilitate this creature as well, because it's so tiny, and obviously on top of that they can just pretty much travel anywhere. They can jump around. You can get a lot of use out of the travelling abilities of this creature. At number 7 I'm putting the Barry, and the only reason why I'm putting this further back is caving shouldn't be your main priority really, especially if you're a noob at the game. It's something to definitely think about, and that is why I'm putting the baryonyx here, as it's still something which I think you should be taming even if you are a noob to the game. Just maybe you don't need to go into all of those caves yet. But if you feel up to it and you're prepared, then I'm not going to be the person to stop you and say, well, you need to get these other things done first. If you feel like you can do it and then you do it, that is very good, and you're making good progress in the game. But either way, a creature like this is just going to be great for general travel too. Yes, a styler could be a good shout as well, but I find maybe that's a little bit far-fetched for a noob, and I don't want to like undermine you in a way. But if you feel like you can go for a styler as well, that would be a great honourable mention on this list if you feel confident enough to do it. It all really does come down to confidence at a stage, as when you play the game more, you're more confident with your abilities, and obviously you're more knowledgeable on taming methods and things like that. This is a very simple knockout tame and then feed some fish meat. You will have no troubles whatsoever, especially if you're playing on ASA, because sometimes they don't even spawn in the swamp biome, they just spawn next to rivers, so the biome is even easier to find these things in. Caro maybe is an unpopular opinion for you, but I am saying that this is a creature which, for beginners and noobs and all those people, this is a great first big carnivore to have. Yes, it's probably not going to be your first carnivore, in fact that might be the next creature coming up on the list, but this one is still going to definitely carry, and an aloe may seem a little bit intimidating. Again, if you want to go for it, then you go for it, and I'm not stopping you. But I would say the Caro is a good goal to set your eyes on. They deal the bleed ability with their second attack. They're not too difficult to trap and then knock out and then tame. It can be done with basic meat, but if you want to get prime and you've got prime on you, obviously of course use that. The tame is going to be much faster. Or you can simply kill an adult Caro if you're on ASA, and then if it has a baby attached to it, you can simply press E on that, and then boom, you've got yourself a Caro, and that's easier, obviously, and depending on your rates, it also will be quicker. But if the raising times are still unofficial, then it's going to take far longer. But I find on default single player settings, it barely takes any time at all, and you're not going to be struggling over all of that. It's just a really nice, neat, small carnivore that is capable of dealing quite a lot of damage, and I think people should be using these things more, especially if you are new or early to the game, because they're very easy to tame, at least from my perspective of things, and you can get a lot of use out of them. At number 5, I decided to put the Raptor, as this is definitely like something which you should be going for. There's nothing really like the Raptor in that stage of the game where you can unlock the saddle, and it is a very fast, versatile carnivore that can get you around the place and see a lot of progress being made just by you simply decimating a lot of things. Don't undermine especially a high level Raptor. They can do a heck of a lot more than you may think they can. Yes, their health, stamina and weight isn't the best, but their damage does rack up reasonably well, and if you go for a higher level one, then you might find yourself actually having a one with decent weight, health and stamina. It's not going to be the highest in the world, a Caro will surely beat it, but you can still easily kill Caros on something like a Raptor. But once you tame your own Caro, it's kind of like it's easier to kill the wild ones in a way. It's just how it scales in my opinion. But yeah, the Raptor is a very fast, versatile, great mount for just generally traversing around the map, which people don't give it enough credit for. It is a reasonable travel mount, you can get a lot done with it, and it deals a very nice amount of damage. Fast attack speed, of course it can be bowlered as well, so it's incredibly easy to tame. Simply bowler it and give it a few tranks. As long as the rest of the pack is somewhere else or has been killed off, then you'll have no troubles taming this thing whatsoever. Now I'm putting the Mwing here in at number 4 because it is just such a good travel mount, and as long as you have Genesis Part 2, this is going to be a really good one for you. And I think it spawns on Fielder as well, which is a free DLC. But if you do not have any of those maps or you're not playing on them, it's fine. You can pretend like I was never talking about this creature at all. But I think you should still have knowledge of this. Its saddle is unlocked at level 18, and it is the best traveling mount out there with no competition. You can use a couple of signs, usually about 3, to trap this thing within them and then crank it out with no issues whatsoever. And then you can even get a really high level one just straight off the bat, and you have yourself the best travel mount in Ark. Considering this saddle was unlocked at level 18, like I've said before, it is just insane how much speed and versatility you can get out of these creatures, which is why they're just so good for noobs or people who are early into the game. But again, if you don't start on the map where they actually do spawn, you can obviously transfer them over, but I won't get into transfers today, and that's so you can get them onto your other map, or simply wait and then when you go on those maps, tame one and see what you think of them. They're also pretty good swimmers as well, act as a portable feeding trough for when you're breeding stuff, and they can gather berries too. In number 3, I've decided to put the Sego here, as this is an incredibly useful berry gatherer, and it'll probably be the best one really just across the whole game. Yes, the Strider and the Bronto and the Diplo may be gathering more berries, but in terms of just how easy these things are to tame and just how many berries you can simply get out of them, it is truly insane. And I love the ratio between how easy these things are to tame and just how much use you actually get out of them. A Parasaur and a Trike is a good shout as well. I'll give them a brief honourable mention here, but I'm mainly going to be talking about the Sego because I really just prefer this creature. And yes, a Parasaur is probably what you're going to net yourself first, and that is totally fine. Don't feel ashamed to tame yourself a Parasaur and really like the Parasaur, but try and aim for something like a Sego in the future afterwards, and you're going to have a much better time with berry gathering. Also, if you're getting into PvP as well, which, you know, most people probably aren't, especially if you're early on into the game, then you can use these things as turret soakers as well. So if you're thinking of doing some basic raids and there's a base that you want to raid which got maybe, let's say, a couple of turrets or even just one turret on it, then try and soak it with the Sego and see what happens, you know, test it out. But also, you know, be careful, because those situations can very easily end badly, and also if the players are online as well, you can find yourself in a bit of a sticky situation. But this is really a creature which I think you should be considering to get, and if you don't get one, what are you doing? Then at number 2, I've decided to put the Argentavis, as this is really going to be something which you're going to want to go for. Again, these saddles are unlocked in the level 60 odds, but really if you get a basic trap and then trank this thing out, or sometimes you don't even need a trap if you're going for low levels, you're going to find no issue with taming this thing, apart from the biome can be a little bit hostile. Again, just some basic preparation of items and things to fend off some enemies, and maybe the creature which is actually in the number 1 spot as well to help you out along the way. It really does make this tame a lot easier actually. And then you've got yourself an insanely great transporter of all things metal, crystal and obsidian, because it's got 50% weight reduction on all of those. Its saddle also acts as a smithy, so if you ever need to craft some metal tools or repair metal tools on the go, that is a very useful thing. And if you're thinking of doing caves again, that is going to be very useful, because the Arthropleuras or centipedes, you might not know what I mean by Arthropleura yet, but you will eventually, then yeah, they will break your armor if they do spit at you, so you know you want to be careful for that, and actually just avoid them if possible if you're getting into caving scenarios. But eventually one of them is just going to break your armor, and having some metal in your RG just so you can repair that once you're out of the cave is going to be very, very nice to you. Then you can pick up a wealth of creatures too. If you have a friend as well, you can obviously pick them up with this, and you can pick up a small creature in the mouth of this tame as well. They also have a regen ability, so if your RG is low on health, simply kill something that's relatively small. If something is already dead, simply eat that dead corpse. That's why if you actually kill something that's RG is around, they'll go for it. Then at number 1 is the Pteranodon though, and although this isn't as good as a creature compared to the RG, at least from my opinion, as a noob or person who's very early to Ark, this is just such an easy tame, and it is going to elevate your progress so much through Ark. It really does it just is deserving of the number 1 spot. If the Mwing spawned on the island, it would take the number 1 spot, but because of the maps being probably the ones that you're not going to be starting on, yeah, this creature easily takes the number 1 spot, being a fast, very viable traveling mount, and it really does add a new dimension to the game when you can actually fly around the place. On top of that, they are ridiculously easy to tame. Simply boulder them and then either club them out or use some tranks. You can only need like maybe a couple of tranks, so if you're taming even like a high level one, probably 10 tranks at a maximum. They've never really used more than that for me when going up to 150, and then obviously it's going to be easy. Trank it out like that, then feed it some meat or prime meat if you've got it, of course. The only real difficulty is going to be going down to that saddle, as the chitin and keratin can sometimes be a little bit of a difficulty, but I would definitely go for the chitin side of things and find any insects, really small ones, so like the ants, the Titanomira or the Megalodon, which are the dragonflies. I'm using the technical terms here, but you know, I'm trying to simplify it down a little bit, because you may not know what a Megalodon or Titanomira is, and genuinely I wouldn't have known what a Titanomera was before I started playing Ark, but I did know Meganera because I learned a little bit about the Carboniferous at that point, and here you can see as that is how simple this Pteranodon tame is. I've just boiled it there, and then I'm shooting it with a long neck with some tranks, and it only took one. Again, you're probably going to be using a bow or a crossbow. And give it up for our patrons, Ekaterina Puchkova and Karina Thorne, Dominic Maciejewski, sorry about that name, and everyone else that's on this list. All the people I've mentioned are paid members, and if you feel like that's something you want a shout out at the end of the video, go join the Patreon or become a paid YouTube member.